Hello fellow egoists! So today we'll be doing a short in-depth analysis of the news chapter 239 with the new bids. I'm sorry that I'll be doing only on the raws, I can't actually use the pair of two translation right now because it hasn't come out and I need to do this video as fast as possible. Since I'll be taking a quick break from 1 to 2 weeks maybe, I'll see. And so yeah, let's just head straight into it. So let's go back, since we're going with the Aggie Dark Yuichi pictures because they're the fullest. So we'll just walk through it pretty fast. So of course we have the Rin and Nagi interaction, which is once again a foreshadowing for Nagi's downfall, where we have our dear Rinitoshi saying that our Nagi is going to fall into hell, which she also we also saw here with the 4 bonding and him being unable to recreate said goal. So I may make a video about it and generally the Nagi and Ryo situations, but anyway, with this we're done. Then we have Isagi remembering that he finally won against our dear Kaiser, with him being pretty happy, nothing special really. And now we get of course Tokimitsu and Nanase, who we saw were playing, and we get into the bids. So for the bids, the first thing I want to talk about, without going into in-depth analysis, is that we have to know that Manshine got basically destroyed single-handedly, as the manga said, by our dear egoist Rinitoshi. And so the consequence of that is that if you have an offensive team being carried by one player, the other players won't necessarily shine as much. Especially, for example, Karasu, who's a defensive midfielder. So it makes sense for Nanase, especially since we know he's not the best of players, to have really low bids, since after all, Rin probably made most of the work and so they couldn't shine as much. Anyway, now let's walk into the person per person. So we have Nanase at the lowest. As said before, he's not that good, so it makes sense. We have Wanima, so the twin that got separated. Not that shocked, after all, his big thing is like link up plays. So the only person he could realistically link up with would be either Chigiri, which we know he hates to a certain extent, and Nagi Ryo, but Nagi and Ryo are basically their own two pairs, so not much to do about there. And Agi, but I mean Nagi did nothing, so yeah. We have Fukaku, which is pretty weird, like he literally did nothing. I don't understand why he has 5 millions. Makes me wonder how fucking shit Wanima and Nanase were for him to get a higher bid than them. Anyway, we have Hiragi, which is the guy with the white eyes. Not much to say about him, we haven't seen much of him, not gonna lie. Anyway, we have Neo, the U20 defender, the trapping guy. We saw that he couldn't stop Rin, so I don't know, not much to say really. Zentetsu having 8 million, we'll get into that, so why I think he got such a quote-unquote low bid, which is probably dependent on his role, but we'll get into that. Then we have Tokimitsu at 10 millions. Not that shocked, honestly. I mean, as I said, they couldn't shine that much. We have Hayate at 13 millions. We know he already played before, so not much there. Then we have Darai, the U20 defender who has the tattoo and basically off-the-ball movement. I think he went to Barsha, if I remember correctly, so yeah, not much to say really. We have Kurona, yeah, no, wait, who the hell is that? I mean, I don't fucking know anyway, I don't care really. Oh, it must be Raichi, yeah, it's Raichi, okay. Yeah, not much to say. I mean, he managed to stop Snuffy in a 1v1, which is a huge feat. But outside of that, he also won a lot of his duels. If you go back and read the Uber's match, you'll see that Raichi basically won all of his duels, physical duels, except for the ones with Lorenzo, where he was at least able to force Lorenzo into doing only one-touch passes, which is a huge feat, since it means he was restricting Lorenzo's freedom just enough for that. Yuri at 20 million, I would say it's fine, because even if he like totally destroyed the Uber's game plan and defense, the big thing is that he was there only for like less than 1/3 of the match, only for one goal, and also that this goal was after the, how can I say, it was the explosion of the field, which makes it so that he wasn't necessarily there to the lead up and to show his dominance. So yeah, there's that. Sendo at 20 million, he stopped Hiyori's shot, he was there, he got an assist, so while it's not the most flashy of performances, it makes sense. He was there basically for most of the match, except for the snuffy part. Otoya at 22 million, not shocked, but they didn't play well. Karasu at 24 million, we'll get into that. Shido at 25 million, which shows that he did play since he had a 20 million bid, from what I remember correctly, in the first match they played. Nico at 30 million. Nico did exceptionally well in the Ubers match, even if it may not show. If you go back, he was able to link up with the defense, always told them what he was going for, managed to buy enough time for his teammates. He was honestly just great. He was a great playmaker. Not the best, of course, not the most flashy, but he was really, really good. At least on the football basis. Certainly not in the egotistic side, but anyway. Gagamaru at 32 million. Honestly, I would have liked to see more because he was that guy, not gonna lie, he was just that good. He didn't have much, I guess. Since after all this match, the best save he did was against Barrow, who had a restricted angle to shoot from. So yeah, it is what it is. So he did basically one huge save, but I understand the 32 million. For Corona, 34 million, which is honestly fine. He got great link up with Isagi, was there for his assist and the first counter attack. Then we get into Nagi falling down. I mean, before getting to that, we have RU. Honestly, RU is a great defender and has a lot of potential. He may not be the best on the ground, but when it comes to the air, he has never lost a duel. And once again, he just has great potential, so I totally understand him getting a good offer. The problem is that it comes from fucking Marseille, which is a finished club, so I don't know, maybe he's also finished. Yukimiya getting a higher bid. I mean, he didn't do the best, but the thing is that we have to take into account that Yukimiya is at his best when he has space to use his abilities. The best way for Yukimiya to get a higher bid would be for him to get into a winger position, but I'll get into that into another video. For Reo, not much lost in terms of bid. I mean, it's fine. He didn't do much from what it seems, so it is what it is. Aiku 38 million, he totally deserves it. He has been doing great. For example, the tactical foul that he did to Noah when Snuffy was on the field is one of the most insane tactical fouls he could have done. Because if he didn't do that foul, I am telling you, Ubers would have lost this match. So great save by him. He totally deserves to be in 8th place. Then we get Nagi downfall, which we talked about. An interesting thing is that when we have Nagi and Reo saying that they'll switch next. So I'm pondering a bit. I don't see necessarily Reo being the one to score. Maybe they're about switching up the tempo and getting into higher gear. We'll have to see. I mean, currently I can't see since we don't have a translation, so it is what it is. Then Kunigami, I don't know, honestly. I mean, he didn't evolve that much in bid, so it's fine. Great job by Chiniri, he fully deserves that 5th place. Bachira, the GOAT, not much to say. And Barrow, 130 million. The thing we have to take into account is that this, from the performance that was expected out of Barrow, well, he did get a super goal. The thing is that he was basically just following Snuffy's tactics for the first half, for like most of the match. Then when he went rogue, he got a super goal, yes. He managed to help Snuffy get out of retirement. But most importantly, compared to what was already set up for him, he didn't break expectations, right? We got Barrow doing a hat-trick in his first match, so we would expect him to do more. So it's a fair assessment, in my opinion, for him to get 130 million, since there was that much expectation for him. Now for Isagi, 150 million. I'll eventually do a video about it. Actually, no, I probably won't, so let me just get straight into it. It totally makes sense. First off, we have his super goal, which was worth 100 million, as Lorenzo said. Clearly a per game man of the match performance. We have Isagi that was basically everywhere on the field, destroying everyone. He was just there at every point in the game. Got an assist, 2 goals. It was just insane performance, really. Not much to say. Of course, we then get Rin being above Isagi, which I'll get into, because the quote from Isagi of "You're always ahead of me, on top of me," kind of sus. You're blocking my way, Rin, is basically something pretty similar to here. where we're basically set up for Rin to lose, because once again, it's definitely people like you who will rise to the top of the world, which means that the day when I win against you is the day I'll be able to stand on the world stage. This is the page that shows to me that PXG will lose their match. Isagi and the entirety of the NEL has been about Isagi catching up and surpassing Rin. So, once again, this panel makes me think like, they're PXG losing. It's not even, it is whatever plot I'm more to cover it. Anyway, let's get into our dear Kaiser getting a new bid from Real Madrid. I'll be honest, as we see, Kaiser doesn't really seem to care. He's much more immersed in his insecurities about being inferior to Isagi. And note the way he's grabbing his blue rose tattoo. In some certain info that we got, we know that when Kaiser does that, he's basically imagining that he's tightening a noose around his neck, which may be a showing of his traumatic childhood, which I'll make definitely a video about after my break. So, not much to say. I do think that at the end of the NEL we'll get Isagi to be the one getting an offer from Real Madrid, because we have the thing that Kaiser is the naked emperor who will have everything stolen from him. Which makes me think that Isagi could also steal Kaiser's bid from Real Madrid, and Kaiser would stay at Bastard München or into another club maybe, but we'll have to see. This panel, pretty interesting, is that we're seeing Corona and Hiyori right behind Isagi as if they're his helper, but the thing is we've seen no one for Rin. Now, I don't necessarily think that this means that Rin can do everything by himself, but it's more so to show how the face-off will be. I'll get into that. I want to get into that at the end, so let's do that afterwards. Let's just go back into the summary real quick. So we have, in the world's evolution, I'm still less than half of Kaiser, the value of second place not even reaching Rin, which is basically, once again, a setup for Isagi to get at least on the same level as Rin, and to a near level of Kaiser, basically. Less than half is just not enough for Isagi, so he needs to be at least close. He can't surpass fully Kaiser as a striker currently. He doesn't have the abilities to, but he'll probably get near. And the title of next chapter, Pickled Radish and Natto. So just basically, Pickled Radish was the meal of Igaguri in the first selection, and Natto for Isagi. So we may get them to interact the same way that they have done right after the Uber's match. In chapter 204, it should be, let me go. Okay, so right there. No, actually it's 205. So yeah, something like this. We should get an interaction, something like this, with Isagi maybe getting an interview again, and Igaguri being like, oh my god, this is the M1. I also have a theory of talking about that, on how Igaguri may get into the field into PXG. But I'll touch on that on another video. And now we can get into PXG. Actually, before getting into, the interesting thing is that we have final match to talk about the France and Germany. So I wonder, are we getting the PXG and Bastard München match immediately? Or are we getting it as after a 20-day break? And also, the thing that goes into the fact that we may get immediately after 10 days the, how's it called? The match from PXG and Bastard is that usually, when Isagi is on break after finishing a selection, is the moment we see the pub from Reo. So for second selection, it's after Isagi was into Bachira's team, and right before heading into the third selection, that we got Reo's pub where he met Shido, etc. And also in the third selection, right after Isagi did his tryout match, we get Reo's pub. So it makes me think that we could probably get immediately the Bastard versus PXG match, with after that the last break for Isagi. And when Isagi is on break, so the 10 days right before the end of the NEL, when the final matches will happen, we may get, how's it called, our dear Reopov, or maybe a Manshine versus Uber's final game. But that's just a theory. Anyway, I put it out there just in case. And so now we can get into the bids of Shido, Karasu, etc. and generally PXG. So I'll talk about something I've already talked about last week on my other chapter analysis. So the thing is that Shido and Rin are characters who need someone like Sai to guide them. If they don't have someone like Sai or Hiyori, for example, a producer who can understand their level of play, they won't be able to use their full talent. So for Rin to score a hat trick, I am sure that he needs someone to understand him. And so the thing is that we know characters, so producers, the way Hiyori and Sai are, they choose the best striker available. And we know that Shido played. So what I think happened is simply that Shido and Rin are on the same field, but that there is a producer choosing who's the best striker, and Rin is always a better option than Shido. Now, it's totally feasible, mostly because of the fact that when Rin was playing without his original ego, he was still on the same level as Shido. At least roughly, even if he was better. They were roughly on the same level. So it's totally feasible for Rin to be on a much higher level, to be always the better option, since he's playing with now his original ego. And this goes also into the fact that there is a producer and maybe a new Gen 11 midfielder into the team of PXG. Because from Karasu's bid, if he was the one assisting Rin or Shido, he would get a much higher bid. So it does show that there is at least a good enough midfielder in PXG that he can understand Rin and Shido's plays, a producer. So yeah, it could be Shappy, we'll see. I mean, I'll eventually talk about all this. And so, once again, Karasu didn't have a high enough bid because he's a defensive midfielder. Manshine got probably absolutely destroyed by whoever their midfielder is, their creative midfielder, and Rin. So not much he can do as a whole. I do hope he has metavision though, because I really enjoy the character and I would love to have him be on a higher level of playing, especially since he's a midfielder. So metavision is basically needed if you want to stand on the world stage as a great midfielder, especially the defensive midfielder, where you need to be able to find the most important threat outside of if you're a type like Raichi who would rather aim to go as a more of an ace eater of sorts. Anyway, with all this, we've gotten pretty much over everything, I think. Yeah, not much to say. So I'll just leave you there. I hope you enjoyed the video as a sort of podcast, and have a great one, fellow egoists.